Macron has suddenly become a chameleon, which no one would have thought that one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations would be flexible enough to change his stance. In that case, they are not as good as the United Kingdom, which has always been indifferent. At least the United Kingdom won't drag the EU into the water, and its stance has always been more distinctive, so it's easier to dodge a shot than a hidden arrow, and it's more difficult to deal with a real villain than a hypocrite, so the ancients will not deceive me. Macron met with US President Joe Biden in Paris on June 8 local time, and in a reversal of his previous pro-China and China-friendly attitude, he publicly denounced China's recent misdeeds in international affairs in front of Biden, saying that China's practices smacked of unfairness and that it was long overdue for France and the US to coordinate with each other in order to face the various international challenges that are coming our way, and to take joint measures to deal with them. Macron is leading France to become the little brother of the US. The reason behind this is baffling, but China is not to be outdone, and in less than 72 hours, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MFA, responded, and on June 1, MFA spokesman Lin Jian said in a routine press conference that both France and the European Union (EU) will respond to any unreasonable sanctions against China, and we hope that the EU will not persist in these senseless and unintentional actions. I hope that the EU will not persist in making such meaningless accusations, so as not to adversely affect Sino-European trade and economic cooperation. At first, it was thought that Biden was simply involved in the 80th anniversary of the Normandy landing in the French province of Calvados on June 6, where Biden was chatting with Macron, as if the US and France were like brothers. Macron had previously advocated for the de-analyzation of the European Union, and argued that Europe should not be able to continue to develop in a way that would make it easier for the US to do so. In the end, however, Macron chose to work with Biden, and at the June 8 meeting, Biden and Macron had an in-depth discussion on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the situation in the Middle East, and the follow-up of US-French economic and trade cooperation, and also announced a roadmap for cooperation between the two countries in various areas. In a joint US-French press conference following the talks, Macron expressed his hope for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and an early search for a political solution, and refrained from any further attempts to solve the problem through violence, and refrained from any further attempts to widen the scope of the war. The personal safety of the Palestinian and Israeli populations is the first priority, and the realization of peace is the common vision and pursuit of all humanity. Anyone with a modicum of judgment can see that Israel is backed by the United States, and that the United States has a hand in the tragedy of the Palestinian people. Macron does not fail to understand this, but he's trying to pretend he doesn't. Macron's intentions and tendencies are clearly to show favoritism to the United States in return for Biden's support. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of Macron? Even though France is not as influential as the United States, it is a member of the P5 and is not a country that can be bullied. Even if Macron needs the United States, he doesn't have to put his country's credibility on the table. And why would he want to do that when he has nothing to lose by cooperating with China? Perhaps this question will be answered in the next news item. According to the Globe and Mail on June 12, French President Emmanuel Macron announced that he was calling early elections for the National Assembly, and that his presidency was in jeopardy. The right-wing leader of France recently announced that an alliance with the far-right National Alliance had won the elections for the European Parliament, and even the media has asked Macron whether he would ask for the resignation of the president if the National Alliance wins the elections for the National Assembly. Although Macron is adamant that the National Alliance has no right to intervene in the legislature or in the appointment of the president, his entourage has made it clear in private that Macron has been under a great deal of pressure lately, and that the French government, with Macron at its center, could change or collapse at any moment. In Macron's view, the silver lining is to bring forward the elections for the National Assembly before the National Alliance has gained a complete advantage, and perhaps even to take advantage of the situation. In Macron's view, the Viking plan is to bring forward the National Assembly elections when the National Alliance does not have a complete advantage, and he may still be able to gain an advantage. On the face of it, Macron seems to be winning, but in reality, he is really at the end of his rope, and Biden may be one of his last cards, and he needs to win Biden's support at this time, so as to be able to turn the tide and win, and the best possible cooperation with the Chinese side is not going to help him to win the elections. The more chips he has, the better. As for cooperation and positions, let's wait until he's firmly seated as president.